Class, welcome to week 2. As I mentioned last week, we're really going to get into the meat of the class here, and we will start our standard pattern of 2 topics, 2 assignments, 2 discussion boards, and then a weekly reflection. This week we'll have some instructions for Project 1 thrown in there. So our 2 topics this week are business model and idea generation, and demand and competition. And this is going to help you get into what ideas are possible for your online business. You don't need to choose a business this week. Next week we will go into, and let me pop down to week 3. We've got different online business models that we'll go through: brokers, manufacturers, wholesalers, affiliate, and drop shipping. We'll really get into the weeds of what you could do with your online business. But this is going to help you broadly choose what is a viable business idea. So our first assignment we'll jump into is fairly straightforward. This is going to become a very familiar template to you. Again, the class is meant to be in a pattern, and so you'll find your instructions here, and you'll want to pay close attention when it says open a new Word document or open a document in Excel. Those are kind of the keywords you'll see in just about every assignment. You'll be turning in a lot of Word document essays and analyses in Excel. So the instructions for this are to open this case of the online business. We're going to go through a case study for the first few topics. And this is a case of a handful of students that are working together to figure out how to start a business, what they should do, and you are going to be a member of the team. So the case study is to put yourself into this scenario and work through some of the questions they're going through. A fun-filled fact: this guy right here was my Elders Quorum president when I was at BYU Idaho in 2008. So he's we used to give him a hard time that he was all over BYU Idaho signage, and he's still there. So happy to see Rafa representing. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the case, I think, it is a good reflection of some of the decisions you have to make in a typical online business. So what you will do in your Word document is pretend you're the 4th member of the group, and then recommend that the group chooses a business model first or a product first. And that's what they're balancing in this case study. It does not matter which one you choose. It matters how you defend which one you choose. If you're able to articulate in depth, these are the real reasons why they should choose a business model first or a product first. So this second step is key. Provide the rationale for your decision. And then regardless of your recommendation, you also need to tell which business model you feel would be best for this new company and provide your rationale for that. So this is all about showing how you're thinking about the question. And then at the bottom of most lessons, you'll find some additional resources. There's some great things down here. I have to give a little caveat to this last one, Russell Brunson and his secret magic box. Very fascinating video. I do need to warn you that his secret magic box doesn't really provide much value, and is probably representative of the fact that you can earn some money online without providing much in return. But in my opinion, his secret magic box is not viable because it doesn't provide much value, if that makes sense. You can watch the video and see, but I always feel an obligation to add a caveat on this because he makes it sound like you can just throw anything on the web, and if you do it right, it'll earn money. And that's true in the short run, but in the long run, if you're really going to build a business, you need to provide value. You need to think of your customer first. And I think he misses the mark a little bit on that one. Regardless, it does show the power of online business, so it's a fascinating video. Then you'll have a discussion board. I won't go into this instruction each week in my screencast because it is the same each time, but I do want to show this first one. Part 1, which is your post, is read this proposed recommendation from a previous student and then write a post to explain whether you agree or disagree with the recommendation and why. So it needs to be comprised of at least 75 words, about 4 substantial sentences. So that first post, you should be able to discuss this and argue for or against it. Then later on in the week, you'll respond to your class members' posts. You need to respond to at least 2 of them. And so take your time, be thoughtful, substantive, add value to the discussion. Feel free, as I mentioned in my introductory email, feel free to disagree politely, professionally. But those who gain a lot of value from this are the ones who are willing to agree, disagree, and engage in that type of discussion. So that will be your first topic, idea generation and learning through the basics of business models, and then you'll have a discussion board on it. Your second topic will be demand and competition. And for this demand and competition, it's really about understanding what people are looking for online. And so in the past, it's been very difficult for companies to identify demand for a new product. With Google in coming to light in the past 20 years, and really having robust access to data, it's much easier to do that, and anyone can do it. It's free. These instructions will walk you through how to get to what's called the Google Ads Keyword Planner, and that will help you quantify the demand for your business idea. I will warn you, Google updates their user interface constantly. It's hard to get to this Google Ads Keyword Tool Planner at times. What we're trying to show you here is how to do it without entering any billing information. You will need to enter billing information at some point with Google Ads because we're going to use the product later on. And so if it's easier for you just to enter your billing information and get to the Keywords Tool Planner, you can do that. Oftentimes you also need a website, and that can be the challenging step because we haven't launched our websites yet. So these videos show you how to get around that, how to create the Google Ads account, subvert the whole process, because Google's going to push you towards enter billing information, enter your website information, and you don't have to do all that. There's a way to get to the Keyword Tool Planner outside of that, and that's what this walks you through. Once you get to the Keyword Tool Planner, you'll read a case study, which is just an extension of the first case study you wrote. So it's the same process. You'll create a Word document and write your response here to the prompt. But this will also include not just a Word document, but a spreadsheet in Excel. And I have a little sample here I'll open. But what you'll want is to open an Excel spreadsheet. You can set it up exactly like this, but these keywords are for ukuleles versus guitar. You are going to do snowboards versus chess. And so you'll come up with various keywords for each one, for chess and for snowboard. It can be whatever you want: snowboard sales, chess strategy, etc., etc. And you'll have the keyword. Google will give you the competition, meaning how many other businesses are selling this product or targeting this keyword online. And then the monthly impressions, how many people are searching each month for something like this. One key point in this, you'll need to get to, you'll get to fairly exact numbers in Google, but you need to download the data in order to do that. A lot of students get lost and they'll come up and they'll say monthly impressions are 2,000 or 100,000 or 200,000, and that tells me that we haven't gotten to the last step in Google Keyword Tool Planner, which is to download the data, and it will give you these exact monthly impressions. So even this isn't a great example because it shows some pretty round numbers, 550,000, and that's not how Google will show you. There's just not that many round numbers when you're looking at search. You'll get to fairly exact numbers from Google, which is good, but you'll need that as we get into Project 1. So ultimately the instructions are down here. You'll need a list of 10 keywords for snowboards, 10 keywords for chess, and then you'll show the competition and monthly impression for each keyword. So that'll be it for this assignment. It's a Word document with a response to this prompt and the demand and competition spreadsheet. A common question is, how long do essays have to be? At times the instructions will say they have to be a page long. If they don't say that, then the length is up to you, but it has to be substantive. If it's a simple paragraph, there's probably not going to be a lot of credit for that. If you're going to have multiple paragraphs, you've gone in depth and shown pros and cons of your recommendation, that's going to be for full credit. Then finally, we'll go into Project 1 instructions. I won't spend a lot of time on this because, as you'll see, there are a lot of videos on it. I'm going to load this little preview. There's a ton of videos on how to do this project. It's, as I've mentioned before, it's time intensive, and so we want to make sure you're well set up for that. And so there's multiple instruction videos. Brother Poole posts these. He has been the course administrator for some time, so very knowledgeable on the topic. And the idea is, I have this preview up here. This is your first sheet. There are multiple sheets, so it's not just the one, but here's where you'll input business ideas, you'll input your demand and competition levels. We'll get into some other data as well in future weeks. And this will automatically calculate your top 5 choices based on the data here. And then you'll take those top 5 choices and you'll flush out more information on the cost of that competition, how much you'll have to expend in Google Ads to market for that. More in-depth data on the demand and competition here, how you'll get supplies to furnish the business, the startup costs, if any, the time requirements, etc., etc. And the really cool thing about this is that this project will bake everything into a final recommendation. So it'll rank those top 5 choices based on all the information you put in, and it'll say here, based on the data, is your #1 choice. You don't have to select that one, but it will give that to you, and then you will decide which one of those 5 you want to do, and you'll explain why. It may be your top choice, it may be your 5th choice, but you can explain why down here, which business and why. So a really, really powerful tool. If you're interested in an online business or online entrepreneurship, I recommend you save this tool because you can use it over and over again for other potential business ideas. And then lastly, you will have your weekly reflection. You'll have this every week. So again, this is not one that I'll go to each week in the screencast, but I do want to go through the initial instructions. You'll set up a blog site, a free blog, please. It does not matter the platform you use, Wix, Weebly, WordPress, all of those are going to have their own a free server where you can establish a blog. If you already have a blog, you can certainly use that for this class. Just make sure the blog titles are clearly delineated to show Marketing 250. But what you need to do is simply write a post reflecting on the past week. It should be at least 150 words in length, and just be written in your own words. Talk about what you learned, what you liked, what you disliked. This will be a chance to reflect each week on what you're learning. And it's a really key piece in the learning process to think back and say, hey, this is something I really liked. This is something I didn't like, especially as you're going through the creation process in this. You want to have those moments to think back on what you're doing, what worked for you, what didn't work for you. So there is some added work this week in setting up that blog, but once that blog is set up, this is very straightforward. You'll write 150 words, and then when you do this, I guess it's called a quiz. For lack of a better term, that's a Canvas term, but really you'll just go into this quiz and you'll copy and paste the URL, so I know that your blog site is live and I can get to your blog post. So post the URL of the actual blog post, and then also copy and paste the content of the blog on there. And that's it. So that'll be all for this week. I know there's a lot of information. I mentioned these first screencasts will be a little bit longer than I'd like. In the future, I'll try and be more concise, but please reach out if you've got questions on these, as we're just getting into really the rhythm of the course. Thanks, everyone.